Bill O'Reilly here. Welcome to the No Spin News, Tuesday, September 20th, 2022. Stand up for your country. Well, it is late September, and we still don't have a good polling profile on the midterm elections. It's back and forth, in and out, depending on the poll. Some of the polls are crooked, as you know. Some are better, but I can't get a handle on this, so we'll try again tonight to give you an idea of what may happen on November 8th. Now, all Americans, every one of us, should vote for problem solvers. I've said this from the beginning of my career. Ideology is okay if you believe strongly in conservative principles. That's good. Same thing with liberal principles. But you got to put that aside somewhat when there is an election that affects you directly. And you have to vote for the person who can solve the problems rather than just bloviate and blah, 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 and do nothing. That's why it was a shame that Donald Trump lost. I don't care. He could have run on the mugwump ticket. Trump solved some pretty difficult problems, including the border, and kept inflation at 1.3%. Come on. But because of his personality, Americans voted emotion, and they voted in a man, Joe Biden, who can't solve any problems. And he hasn't. And he's made things worse. That's a good example. So you might not even like a candidate that's running, but if that candidate is smart and you believe that candidate's background proves he or she can solve problems, vote for him or her. And that is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. So there are a number of unresolved problems in this country. You know what they are, but I'm going to put them on the screen. For those listening on the radio, I will read them. These are problems that are not being addressed, not being solved. All right, number one, southern border. Okay? 2, inflation. 3, drug smuggling and drug use. 4, social media censorship. 5, wild government spending. 6, high prescription drug prices. 7, violent crime. 8, political division. 9, airline chaos. 10, Putin and China. All of those things are serious problems. Joe Biden got any solutions to it? Now, you're going to say, well, do the Republicans? I don't know. I don't know. What I do know is we have a president who, after 21 months, doesn't have a solution for any of that. That's what I do know. So it's like a guy batting 0-0-0 on the Mets. Well, I don't know if the other player that I bring in is going to hit better, but the guy hitting 0-0-0 not doing a job. So I got to give somebody else a chance. Simple man, simple logic. Now, in November, we have a number of races in the House and Senate which will either strengthen Joe Biden's position as president or weaken it. So I want to weaken it. Does that mean? No, I don't want Joe Biden to do any more damage to me and my family. He's done plenty. He's done enough damage to me and my family. Now, I'm giving it a personal touch. I'm not being selfish. I don't want him to do damage to you and your family either. But I'm trying to explain that I can't vote for Democrats in November. I voted for Democrats last time around, a couple here on Long Island, but I can't do that now because the Democratic Party is hurting me and you, unless you think those problems I just told you about are not significant. All right, so partisanship, no. All right, that's why network and cable news is failing. People have had enough of partisanship. I mean, I know some people are zombies and they just want to hear what they believe over and over and over again. I know it, but not many. Right? They want a clearly defined solution to a problem. They want to think things may get better. Under President Biden, they are not going to get better. In fact, they'll get worse, and that is the memo. Now, I'm going to give you 2 tips here. The excuse for not solving problems is very interesting. Roll the tape.
There's a lot of hard work to do.
Look, the president and the party has delivered. We still have work to do, but there's a plan to get it done.
So we're making a lot of progress on the agenda. We have a lot more work to do.
With all of this progress, it's important to acknowledge that there's more work we must do together.
We understand there's more work to do, of course.
I think the Republicans can win a red wave, but there's a lot of work that they still have to do.
There's work we have to do. I got to do work. When you hear that, that means I don't have a clue on how to solve anything. But we have work to do. We're going to do that work. Look, if you watch and listen to me every night, I have the solutions to the problems. Bill at BillO'Reilly.com. You got a problem? Send it to me and I'll give you a solution. And I don't have more work to do. That's my work. I solve problems. So these cliches over and over and over. It's like watching these interviewers on television who get paid a lot of money. What do you make of that? When you hear an interviewer say that to an interview subject, what do you make of that? That means the interviewer is too lazy to think up a question. So they dump it in the lap of the guest. What do you make of that? It's so ridiculous. When you hear that, you know that the interviewer is no clue. When you hear we have work to do, you know the politician or the pundit does not have any idea on how to deal with the subject matter. All right, President Biden's schedule today. At 1:45, he delivered remarks on the Disclosure Act. Now, I like this Disclosure Act. Somebody tell Joe Biden, I like this. This would, if it passes into law, require dark money people like George Soros, all right, to be exposed. So if you were a political action committee and you got more than $10,000 from somebody, you have to put that person's name down in a public disclosure. That's why it's the Disclosure Act. Yes! Good, Joe Biden. Good. Dark money is horrible for this country. All right, at 7:30, I got invited to dinner tonight with big shots at the UN in New York City. I don't know why they wanted me, but they invited me. Very kind to invite me. And I told them I can't go because I can't get into New York City. I live 20 miles away. I can't get there. Why? Because Joe Biden's coming in to the UN confab. And no one will be able to get in and out of that city. You can't. On a regular day, it takes me about an hour and 45 minutes to go 20 miles to get into Manhattan. Now, I'd have to bring a tent. I'd have to sleep on the side of the road. So I had to decline the invitation because I couldn't get into New York City. Now, Biden's got no problem. He lands at 5:25 at Kennedy Airport, Air Force One, and then there's a motorcade. So everybody else has to stop. And you can imagine it backs traffic up to Montauk, all right, and Albany and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania on the west side. So he zooms in, but nobody else can move. This is not an exaggeration. If I had accepted my dinner invitation, which would have been about 7:30, I would have had to leave my house at about 3:30. 4 hours to go 20 miles. I get one of these little scooters, I guess, but even then, the cops are going to stop everybody. So Biden's here in New York. There's a report today from the Heritage Foundation. We like the Heritage Foundation. They're conservative, but they're pretty accurate. The conservative Heritage Foundation says that Joe Biden's 100 executive orders, since he's been in office, he's on 100 of them, have cost the taxpayers $1.5 trillion. It's just staggering. Because all Biden does is buy votes. That's what this college loan forgiveness thing was all about. Buy votes, give people stuff. When Biden said on 60 Minutes the COVID epidemic is over, Scott Pelley, who slept through the whole interview, read my message of the day, please, should have said, well, are you going to then revoke the Emergency Powers Act in COVID, Mr. President? Of course, Pelley didn't do it. He wasn't even listening to him. And Biden isn't. He's keeping the COVID emergency in place, but saying the epidemic is over. Why? Because under the COVID Emergency Act, Biden can give money out to anybody he wants. Anybody who wants. Here, take it, take it. Buying votes. That's what the Democratic Party does. Homeowners, beware. You could be the victim of home title theft and not know. A cyber thief may have already forged his name onto the title of your home. Please go to HomeTitleLock.com. Enter your address for your free, no obligation home title scan and discover if a cyber thief is already camping out on your home's title. The title to your home is the only document that proves you own it. Once a thief forges your title, he can take out loans on your home or forge your name stating he's the new owner. So please make sure your home's title is securely in your name. Go to HomeTitleLock.com, use the promo code RADIO, enter your address for your free, no obligation home title scam. That's a $100 value free. HomeTitleLock.com radio, HomeTitleLock.com code radio. All right, as I mentioned at the top, the polls are all over the place on the midterm elections coming up fast. Very, very fast. So we put in an emergency call to our Batman, put the little signal up in Gotham for Doug Schoen to appear to straighten us out, to tell us what's happening. Doug is a Democrat political strategist, honest man. He joins us out from New York City. You're not going out tonight, are you, Doug, in Manhattan?
No, Bill, I'm like you. I'm going to stay in.
It's insane. People have no idea, who don't live in New York, how crazy this is here. All right, so look, I'm a simple man, as you know, far too simple to do what I do. So I've got some questions, all right? In the last 2 weeks since Labor Day, all we've heard from the leftist media is that the Democrats are making a comeback, all right, a comeback, and that they may not even lose the House. You write a column on the Hill. It says, I don't think so. And then the NBC News poll that's out this week says, on the issues that are vital to Americans, inflation, things like that, Republicans are ahead 60-40. So who's lying here? Can you clear it up?
Sure. Bill, it's a tight race now. The Republicans are either even or a little bit ahead on the generic vote, district by district, again, relatively close. But reports of Democratic momentum are vastly exaggerated. They're based on one special election and a little momentum that was generated by the inaptly named Inflation Reduction Act, which, as you know, and you've told your viewers, doesn't really reduce inflation at all, maybe increases it. Bottom line, Bill, from what I see, the House is still going to go Republican, the Senate 50-50.
Okay, but when 50-50, I don't really understand that. So
Sure.
Georgia, you've got Herschel Walker, not the strongest candidate in the world. I mean, very inarticulate, personal problems, up against Warnock, a far left guy. Georgians are getting hammered economically. Everybody's suffering in a peach state. Kemp, the governor, is well ahead of Stacey Abrams. I think Kemp will walk in fairly easily. But I said I'm betting my liberal friend in Atlanta that Herschel Walker will win that race, that there are not going to be that many people crossing from Kemp to Warnock, and that I think Kemp will carry Herschel Walker in. Polls have Walker up 1 or 2, which is essentially a tie.
I agree with your analysis. I've looked at a lot of polling data, and if Kemp wins by, as I suspect he will, more than 7 or 8 points, I think you give Herschel Walker a very slight advantage, especially in a midterm election where the inclination of voters is to vote against the party in power to win the Democrats.
Okay. Florida, Rubio's going to win. I don't care what the Miami Herald says. I can't see him losing. Can you?
It's a tight race, but again, I believe DeSantis is likely to beat Charlie Crist, though DeSantis has come down a bit. I think what we saw in 2020 is that there was an outpouring of Republican turnout for Trump at the end that exceeded the pollsters' expectations. So I'd make Rubio a narrow favorite in a state that is likely to stay Republican.
Why is it so narrow for Rubio? He seems to be a good senator to me. He's not screwing up, is he?
No, he hasn't been screwing up, but Val Demings is the kind of Democrat you and I like. Tough on crime, former police officer, and running away from the National Party.
All right, and she is a woman of color, and that is a boost in Florida.
It is, indeed.
Okay, so we go to Arizona. Now, if I'm in Maricopa County, that's Phoenix, which dominates the state of Arizona. I don't want Mark Kelly in there. Not that I think Kelly's a bad guy, but he's a rubber stamp progressive. Whatever the progressives want, Kelly's going to do. And Arizona's a state under siege from migrants, from undocumented migrants. So why wouldn't everybody in Arizona vote against the Democrats?
The simple answer to that is Donald Trump and Blake Masters being an election denier and very, very far to the right. If they had nominated a candidate who was more centrist, like the former governor, they'd
have a better chance. Do you think Masters has a chance to beat Kelly?
I think he does. The most recent poll I saw over the weekend had the race +2 for Kelly, down from about 7 or 8. So yes, Masters has a chance. If he uses the border issue, as you wisely suggest, it can only help.
And inflation. So then you go up to Nevada, north of Arizona, and you got Laxalt, very experienced politician in that state. Again, very tight race for Senate. But I say Laxalt wins. Again, people in Nevada are suffering through inflation. They're getting hammered.
And the border issue is an issue there as well. And the polling most recently has shown an uptick for Laxalt. The most recent numbers have him about a point ahead.
Do you think Laxalt wins that race?
I think it's 50-50. There is a very strong Democratic machine. Used to be Harry Reid's in Nevada. They are very active on behalf of Kathy Cortez.
Yeah, and that's all Vegas centered.
Exactly.
That machine that represents the unions and the service workers.
Exactly.
Okay, so then you go to New Hampshire, and it's another very conservative man, Bolduc, running on the Republican side. So you got to figure the incumbent Maggie Hassan will win in the Granite State. But boy, oh boy, there's not a lot of discretionary income up there. And I'm going, you're going to really vote a Democrat in who's going to rubber stamp everything Biden does?
And again, the polls there are now within 5 or 6 points. I would agree with you. If I had to bet, I'd bet on Maggie Hassan. But Bolduc is got a chance, especially if he can broaden his appeal.
And I think that the Republican will win in Ohio, even though he's a controversial guy. But Ohio seems to be trending red more and more and more, correct?
It is. And while J.D. Vance came out of the box a little slowly, the polling recently I've seen has him a couple of points ahead. And as you point out, the preference in the state is Republican.
And then Pennsylvania, finally, you have Fetterman, the Democrat who can barely speak because of a physical stroke that he had. But if he could speak, he'd be perhaps the most far-left senatorial candidate in the country, and he's ahead of Oz.
He is. I mean, Oz has few, if any, ties to Pennsylvania and was beaten up badly by Dave McCormick in the Republican primary, so he's got a high negative. I'd make Fetterman a narrow favorite. The polls have the race within 4 or 5 points now. Fetterman had started 10 to 12 points up. So Oz has a chance, but I'd bet narrowly on Fetterman.
See, I'm going to bet on Oz because of the debate.
Okay.
And if Oz can't take him to school on a debate, and that's happening, right? There is a debate between
There
Oz
is,
and
yes.
Okay.
Fetterman decided to debate finally.
I think that's going to be it for Fetterman. I mean, this guy is so far out there, in 90 minutes on a stage, but Oz has to perform. Here in New York, where both of us are, you think Lee Zeldin has a chance to beat Kathy Hochul? I mean, 2-1 Democratic over Republican registered voters, machine Democrat. Hochul is so bad, so incompetent. City is so brutal and out of control. Highest tax burden in the country on New Yorkers. I mean, I'm looking at it going, I can't imagine people voting for Hochul. Does Zeldin have a chance? This is the governor's race.
Yeah, an outside chance, Bill. I'd make her the favorite. 2 reasons. Zeldin has been positioned too far right for New York. He's pro-life, and he has been a longtime supporter of Donald Trump, which in New York is toxic.
I don't know how much independents, though, are going to weigh that against the violent crime out of control, and that's directly because of Governor Hochul, who won't revoke the no bail law when she could, and the unbelievable inflation tax burden in the state. So you're probably right. The numbers are there, but if there were one upstate that I could go to Vegas on, that might be it. All right, Doug Schoen, everyone, one of the smartest political guys in the country. Appreciate it, Doug. Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.
Inflation at its highest level in 40 years. Interest rates skyrocketing. We all know that. Market experts like Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan, not only predict a recession, but are using scary terms like economic hurricane and unprecedented. So you need to call the only precious metal dealer I trust, American Hartford Gold. They will show you how to protect your savings and retirement accounts by diversifying your portfolio with physical gold and silver. Please call them today, and they will have physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or put inside your IRA or 401k. They have thousands of satisfied customers, are the highest rated firm in the country with an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Tell them Bill O'Reilly sent you, and they'll give you up to $2,500 of free silver on your first order. Please call 866-501-5201, 866-501-5201, or text BILL to 65532. Again, 866-501-5201 or text BILL to 65532. Okay, so Killing the Legends, The Lethal Danger of Celebrity, coming up fast. 1 week from today. And advance sales are strong. It is a different kind of killing book. It is contemporary history. It is social history in the sense that these men were not politicians, but each of them influenced the way we live right now. Right now. And each of them died after being crushed by their celebrity. And they were all betrayed. And I get into this in a way that I think you're going to find mesmerizing. I got a friend of mine who's seen it all. All right, media guy. And he loves Ali. But he's interested in Elvis Presley and John Lennon as well. He's in a culture. He knows. And he says, I thought I knew about these guys. All right? And I didn't know anything really about them. And he read the book. I sent him the book. I sent it to certain people that I wanted to get feedback from, and I know they would give me honest feedback. So that pleased me because our research, Dugard and I, we really went, the movie Elvis is okay, but it doesn't teach you anything about Elvis. It teaches you nothing about him, okay? It's just basically a hit reel, a highlight reel. And then at the end, you can see him dissipating. The actor's great who plays Elvis, but you don't know why. You really don't know what happened. And when you find out what happened, then you can correspond it to today. So famous people, all famous people in America are in danger. And that's because of the internet. Now, when I was younger, working my way up, I wanted to be famous. I remember having a conversation with my father when I told him I was leaving Channel 2, WCBS TV in New York, where he could watch me every night. And he goes, why are you doing that? And I said, because I want to be a national. I want to be a national journalist correspondent. He goes, oh, you're crazy. You got it made here in New York. So I went against his advice and I went national, and it was very hard. But I really wanted to be famous. Now, if you had asked me back then why, I would not have been able to tell you. I think it was recognition of my work rather than, I'm a private guy. I don't put pictures and stuff on the internet. I think that's just stupid. I mean, look what's happening to Tom Brady and his wife now, because they would do way too much on the internet. All right, Ben Affleck and what's her name, J-Lo, every day, enough. You're putting yourself at risk. But all famous people in America are in danger now because it's a national sport to see them go down. And then sometimes they come back up, but sometimes they don't. All right, but it's like fun for people to see other people destroyed. And that's wrong. But it's celebrated on Twitter. It's celebrated on Instagram. You know it. Let's go in there right now and look at the vile stuff that's posted. And this mainstreams it, that you can attack famous people. All right? So I have nothing against President Biden at all, personally. I don't think he's doing a good job for the country, and that's what I base my reporting on. All right? But it's all fact-based. I don't accuse him of stuff that I can't back up. Same thing with Trump. Okay? Same thing with Trump. I mean, the man was accused of everything under the sun. It was a sport. Destroy Trump. And now, on a lesser level, destroy Biden. And these are presidents, so you understand the intensity of that position. But in the entertainment and sports world, it's just as intense. People will hurt you. I mean, the quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals, after they won the game on Sunday, went over to high-five some of the fans in the stands, and somebody slapped him across the face. I mean, it's just incomprehensible. And Lennon, when you see John Lennon, we all know he was assassinated, okay? But when you see what led up to that, all right, and how vulnerable he was, he left himself open. And it was because he didn't have anybody there saying, hey, John. Now, Presley, he did have guards and he had guys around him. That was a different situation. And Ali, which may be the most horrendous of the three, Muhammad Ali, well, what happened to him? Nobody knows what happened to him because the press wouldn't tell you. I don't think the press knows, but they could have found out because we did. We found out. And where do you see what happened to that man? One of the most magnificent athletes the world has ever seen. And African Americans and blacks the world over idolized his achievements, Muhammad Ali. They idolized his achievements. He was an uplifter, a very important historical figure. I would say he's more important historically than Elvis and Lennon. But Elvis was extremely important because when he came on the scene, the whole American culture changed. Before Elvis, there wasn't rock and roll at a major level. Okay? He comes on the scene, everything, all hell breaks loose because of his entertainment, because of his charisma and what he was doing. It changed everything. Changed how younger people interacted with their parents, changed how entertainment was presented, changed every single thing in this country. Elvis. And he got crushed by it. He didn't understand all of it. Wasn't a well-educated man, but he wasn't stupid. Elvis Presley was fairly smart in his evaluation of things. Okay? Uneducated, so was Lennon, so was Ali. None of them had education. But anyway, I wrote the book because I want people to know that being famous in all regards in the United States is dangerous. It can kill you. And that's why so many of these people go to drugs. That's why so many of them are married 5, 6 times. All right? Because they lose control of it. Upside money, upside everybody saying how great you are, all of that, yeah. But the downside is 100 times worse than the upside. So I think that if you pre-order Killing the Legends, it'll be a book that you can't put down. My friend couldn't put it down. He just read it cover to cover, like went up, ate a little, got some drinks, and then came back and read it anyway. I think that's what's going to happen. And I want your feedback. Different book, different killing book, but believe me when I tell you it will be worth your time. Thank you for watching and listening to the No Spin News. We will see you tomorrow. Recently, you've heard me talk about our new streaming partner, Vidgo. Vidgo is an exciting new streaming service that gives you the live sports and programming you want at a price you can afford. With Vidgo, I get all of my favorite live sports networks, including ESPN, Fox Sports, as well as an incredible access to college football, with 80% of every televised college football game in the first 3 weeks of September. 80%. Vidgo has great choice of news as well, and entertainment program, including The First, Newsmax, OAN, Fox News, and more. I've enjoyed Vidgo so much that I'm going to do a new weekly program called Shock and Awe exclusively on Vidgo. Each week we'll break down the most important issues of the week, asking bold questions and sitting down for exclusive interviews with America's top newsmakers. Vidgo gives you the freedom to be entertained at a price you can afford. Please go to vidgo.com/bill to sign up now, and for a limited time, get Vidgo's premium service for $64.99.